Waikakaita Persquest, Chief Judy Wilson. Cookvi means chief in my language. I'm chief of the Nisqualnet Indian Band. I'm a secretary-treasurer of the Union of East Indian Chiefs and a member of the First Nations Leadership Council. The United Nations Sustainable Goals gives us some benchmarks that we could work towards, because right now there's so much that we need to work on in the land rights, human rights, and basic human rights, housing, shelter, and food. And I think with the context in regard to what is our values and principles and what measures our health and wellness might be interpreted a bit different nation to nation. But right now we do need some sort of framework, so the Sustainable Development of the United Nations, the 2030 Agenda, gives us a framework to work with. You can think of our matriarchs, our women that are looking at ways to improve food security, food sovereignty in our area. So they've worked at attaining a small little land base on the reserve, so they can grow vegetables and grow food as part of the food security. But they didn't stop there. They actually looked at traditional foods as well, and our watersheds and things. So it's like a broader vision of what sustainable development and food security looks like. So I applaud their efforts, but it's so hard. It's like an uphill struggle and battle for the women. It's taken a long time for even council to understand clearly, what their goals are, which is basically community or nation goals are, which we all should be striving for. So, we've been working to support, but not overstepping ourselves as council, because clearly the women need to lead that, the ones that are making those changes outside of the Indian Act and outside of the colonial structures that we have in place right now, which clearly are just for failure, because then you become dependent on program funding and the support from the government. But what they're structuring is something that's going to be truly sustainable. So I'm very happy to support that effort, but it's still a struggle because we're doing it outside of the colonial structures. We're getting a little bit of funds to do our own mapping. The areas with the large ancestral trees and the sensitive sacred areas, because right now with the logging they're trying to go into our sacred areas, so it's a lot of work. So we need to be able to have the resources to be able to go do the mapping to say these are no-go zones. In regard to our dependency and our correlation and our relationship to the ancestral trees is goes back since time immemorial. The tree might provide us with the roots for cedar, for example, for our baskets. It provides us with our traditional medicines, and we put cedar in some of our smudge mixes too. So there's almost every part of the tree provides something to us and is very meaningful to us. We have inherent responsibilities as Secwepemc, as Indigenous people, to care for all of creation, especially our relationship with what we call Quiselton, which is our relatives, the bears, the wolves, the trees, the salmon. So we have this very connected in spiritual relationship and in our caretaking responsibilities. So in context of the sustainable development, it goes far beyond just sustainable development for us. Other tools in there that provide the basic minimum human rights framework, and that's also free, prior, informed consent, and also a lot of tools that provide us this work, but it doesn't displace our laws, jurisdiction, and legal orders, because they're intact with our unceded title. So our title that was bestowed to us by the Creator, we have that. That's first and foremost. The human rights framework is just that. It's a human right that has basic human rights in it. It doesn't displace our own laws and our own responsibilities under there. And same with the Constitution, right? That's the colonial states, the state government's framework on how they engage with us. So it's the state government that has to be able to engage with us on the UN declaration, both federally and provincially. We have legislation in Canada for both levels now, but also understand they're still state government formed, they're still state government driven. So keeping in that mind, we have to really look at how we're implementing it and how we're engaging with it and what it means. So we have to understand how that can work with our own, first and foremost, our laws and our people, our values and our beliefs. Because our laws are actually more far-reaching than the colonial laws. They're about sharing. They're about taking care of everyone. They're not based on greed. You only take as much as you need from things, and you're not to destroy the earth. You're not to destroy the water. So it's really living in harmony and balance with our society, with our environment, and with each other. With our youth that are emerging today, they're amazing, great leaders. I travel across Canada and internationally, and I see that, and it's truly amazing. So they're going to have more tools with the UN Declaration and with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But the youth are important to us. So the education, the transfer of the culture, knowledge, and language is going to be important for them, but also how these United Nations tools can work for our people. So Canada really is not on the track for any of the 2030 agenda at all. Safe drinking water in communities, they've made some considerable investments, but there's a lot of work that still needs to be done.